ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे। ॐ श्री हयग्रीवाय नमः। ॐ श्री वल्लभा समेत श्री महागणाधिपतये नमः। So today we are going to get into a new topic, which is athato brahma jignasa iti atra atha-sabda-vichaarah. So the first Brahma Sutra is Athato Brahma Jignasa. It's called Jignasadhikaranam. In fact, that is the first Adhikaranam. In fact, the word Brahma appears only once in the Brahma Sutra, entire Brahma Sutra, which is this first Sutra. After that, it is applicable everywhere, wherever relevant. That is called Anuvritti, in fact, because in the Sutra literature, typically we don't repeat even a word. Once you use a word, then it is supposed to go wherever it is relevant. You have to attach it. Okay, it is supposed to flow through. Okay, that is called anuvritti. That's why the sutras themselves are not grammatical sentences. Okay, and the Paniniya Sutra, which is Vyakarana Sutra, is even more technical because the language itself is not Sanskrit. It is actually using a meta language. Panini has created a meta language to describe the natural language. That is even more of a beauty, I would say. But anyway, coming here, so here the atha shabda in the first sutra, the first word is atha. So what is the meaning of this atha? Because atha can have many meanings. In fact, there is even a verse. Omkarascha shabdascha dvaveto brahmanah pura kantham bhitva viniryato tasman mangalika ubhau. Like this. See, the Omkara and Atha came first from Brahmaji, it seems. So Brahmaji's Kantha, they were the first sounds. Om, Atha, like this Brahmaji said, and the creation was there. Okay. Since the creation came out successfully after he said Om and Atha, they both are considered to be Mangalavachi, means they are auspicious. So in fact, if you take the Brahma Sutra itself, it simply starts as Athato Brahma Jignasa. Some people can raise an objection, where is the Mangala Charanam here? The Atha Shabda itself is Mangalavachi, that is what we say. And that's why in fact many Sutra literature, they all start with this Atha. In Panini Sutra case, the Vriddhi also is considered to be a Mangalavachi. Vriddhi Raja which is there. Because Brihi Vriddhau means Brahman, the Brih Dhatu itself comes in the meaning of Vriddhi, and the Vyakarana Sutra starts with Vriddhi Radhaich. So that also starts with the Brahman in one way, if you see. Anyway, coming back here, what is the meaning of this Atha? Is it only Mangalavachi means? No, you can give many meanings to this Atha, but both Shankara and Ramanuja actually accept the meaning. They give the same meaning, in fact. What is that? That's what our author is saying here. Let us see. Atra atha shabdasya anantaryam arthaha iti sampratipannam. So the meaning of this atha word is anantaryartha. Here, iti sampratipannam means it is agreed. It is agreed by both, or it is recognized by both Ramanuja and Shankara that the meaning is Anantarya, means after, thereafter, like that the meaning we give, correct? Thereafter, therefore, the desire to know Brahman. Like this only, even in English translation we give Athato Brahma Jignasa, the English translation is thereafter, therefore, desire to know Brahman. Okay. Now thereafter means after what? So that's what he is asking now. Parantu Shamadhi sadhana chatushtaya sampatti anantaryam iti Shankaraha. So Shankaracharya says that thereafter means after gaining this Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. Okay. Or sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, I have to say, not just Shamadhi sadhana chatushtaya sampatti anantaryam. Okay. So the sadhana chatushtaya, which we famously list as nitya vastu vivekaha, correct, and then iha mutrartha phala bhoga viragaha, shamadhi shatka sampattihi, mumukshutvam, like this. These are the four-fold qualifications which is required, which is a prerequisite for you to know Brahman, to be a student of Vedanta. That's what Shankaracharya is saying. But Ramanuja is saying Dharma Shastra Adhyayana Anantaryam iti Ramanujaha. So Ramanuja says it is after doing the Adhyayanam of the Dharma Shastra, which in his case the Dharma Shastra means Purva Mimamsa. So one has to first study Purva Mimamsa, then only after that, thereafter you have to study Uttara Mimamsa or Brahma Mimamsa. This is what Ramanuja is saying. So now again, so Tatra Anyatarasya Samichinatva Nirnayaya Maya ayam vicharaha vidhiyate. So I am now doing this vichara to know amongst the two, correct? Ramanuja is saying something, Shankara is saying something. Amongst these two, what is samichina means what is appropriate, proper. So this for determining that. So samichinatva nirnayaya, I am now, or by me, this vichara is being done, means I am now doing this analysis. And therefore what? Tatahi. So now, since Ramanuja is saying Dharma Shastra Adhyayana Anantaryam iti, now he is asking a certain question, because the Dharma Shastra itself, why do you study? The Purva Mimamsa Shastra is about the karma, correct? How to do karma and what are all the steps involved in that, all these details, correct? Iti kartavyata we say. So to know all that, only the Purva Mimamsa Shastra is there. And what is the karma phala? So that you can say it as karma jnanam, correct? The knowledge about the karma you want to gain, certain clarity, how to do different karma, what are their results, etc. Then you have to do it. So if you say you have to first study about karma and then only you can study about Brahman, means then there has to be some connection between karma jnanam, because the study of Purva Mimamsa, the Purva Mimamsa Adhyayana can only give you karma jnanam. Understand that. That alone is actually not enough. Even according to Purva Mimamsa, you have to do the karma, then only you can get the karma phala. But here anyway, Ramanuja is saying you have to first do the Purva Mimamsa Adhyayanam, then only you can do Uttara Mimamsa, means there has to be some connection between Karma Jnanam and Brahma Jnanam. So now Bellamkonda Ramaraya Kavi is analyzing what kind of connection can be there, okay, between Karma Jnanam and Brahma Jnanam. And even if you say some connection is there, whether it is valid or invalid, all those things he is going to analyze threadbare now. So first he is saying, Karma Jnanam vina Brahmanaha Nyatum Ashakyatvat Brahmajjignasuna Tavat Karma Jnanaya Purva Mimamsa Adhyayanam Kartavyam iti kim Ramanujasya Ashayaha. So now he is trying to understand why Ramanuja is saying like this. Okay, so in this, the first possibility can be Ramanuja can say that so karma jnanam vina brahmanaha jnatum ashakyatvat. That is the main contention. That means without knowing karma, so without the knowledge of karma, one cannot know Brahman. Okay, it is impossible to know Brahman. Therefore, what the one who is desirous to know Brahman has to first do Purva Mimamsa Adhyayana for the purpose of gaining karma jnana. Like this, is it what Ramanuja saying? Okay, is this the Is this the view or opinion of Ramanuja? It can be one argument, okay? Or the other one is what? Kimva Ajnata Karmanaha Purushasya Brahma Jignasoho api Brahmajnane nasti adhikaraha iti Brahmajnana adhikara siddhyarthe Karmajnanaya Purvamimamsa adhyayanam kartavyam iti. So the other option can be that if you do not have jnanam of karma, then you do not have adhikaritvam for having this desire to know Brahman or to gain Brahmajnana. So this is a slight difference. Okay, one is that karma without Karmajnanam you cannot know Brahman at all. The other one is without Karmajnanam you cannot have adhikaritvam for gaining the knowledge of Brahman. Okay, this is a slight variation of that. So is it that way? Okay. Therefore, you have to do Purva Mimamsa Adhyayana. Why? Because you have to gain Karma Jnanam. Why do you want to gain Karma Jnanam? Then only you get the Adhikaritvam. You are qualified. Like saying you cannot go to college unless you finish higher secondary, let us say. Correct? But of course, there are some open universities which still give you degree. Correct? But there they have a different criteria. Like you have to be already some 25 years old. Some age criteria they give, correct? 21 years old or something like that. So adhikaritvam based. Then the other argument, third one is what? Yadva purva mimamsa nyayanam eva uttara mimamsayam darshanat tad avagamaya purva mimamsa adhyayanam kartavyam uttara mimamsa adhyayanam chikirshuna iti. Or the third option is what? See, the principles which are used in Purva Mimamsa. Nyaya here means we can take it as principles, okay? They are only used in Uttara Mimamsa also. The same principles are used for analysis purpose. The way we analyze the Veda, those principles are all set by the Purva Mimamsakas only. So we happily use them. We have, in fact, Vyavahare Bhatta Nayaha. Like this, there is a saying. So our tradition, most of the thing in Vyavahara at least, we follow the Bhattas, the Bhatta Mimamsakas. So we follow them. In fact, even the number of Pramanas which we accept, or even our position with reference to how these Pramanas operate, right? Our epistemology, you can say the study of knowledge, is mostly in keeping with the Bhattas, or even with reference to how karma has to be done, all these things, okay, how karma gives results. Even our view about the Veda as an apaurisheya pramana, correct? Of course, there slightly we differ with the Purva Mimamsakas, even with the Bhattas, but mostly we follow them. Okay. So, is it because of that you have to first study Purva Mimamsa? Because unless you know the principles as enunciated by the Purva Mimamsakas, you cannot do this Uttara Mimamsa, because the analysis, the principles which you are going to use for analysis are same. Therefore, you have to do Purva Mimamsa Adhyayanam before, even though you are desirous of knowing Brahman, first go and study Purva Mimamsa. Then only you can come to Vedanta. That is one. Or finally, what? Athava karma bihi शुद्ध चित्तस्य एव ब्रह्ममीमांसायाम् अधिकारः इति कृत्वा करणार्थं कर्मज्ञानाय पूर्वमीमांसा अध्ययनं कर्तव्यं ब्रह्ममीमांसना इति. Or the fourth option can be what? Only by karma one gains chitta shuddhi, okay, by doing karma, okay. So karma bihi here means by doing karma, we have to take it as. And only the one who has Chitta Shuddhi has Brahma Mimamsa Adhikaraha. Because the Sadhana Chaturtaya Sampatti in one word can be considered as Chitta Shuddhi. Okay. So one who has Chitta Shuddhi only has the prerequisites or the qualification for Brahma Mimamsa. So in this manner, so taking it this way, for doing karma, because by doing karma only chitta shuddhi will come. It is not just karma jnana. But even to do the karma, you have to first have karma jnanam. Therefore, you do purva mimamsa adhyanam. Like this, the fourth option. So these are the four options. What are the four options? Again, that you cannot have Brahma Jnanam without Karma Jnanam. The Brahma Jnanam is directly dependent on the Karma Jnanam. That is one way. Okay. Or the other is, unless you have Karma Jnanam, you do not have Adhikaritvam for Brahma Jnanam. Therefore, you have to first study the Purva Mimamsa. Or the third option is what? The principles which are used in Purva Mimamsa, they are useful in Uttara Mimamsa also. Therefore, you have to study Purva Mimamsa. Or the fourth option is, I study Purva Mimamsa to gain knowledge of karma. That in turn will help me in doing karma. And if I do the karma, I will get Chitta Shuddhi. And by gaining Chitta Shuddhi, I become qualified for Brahma Jnanam. Therefore, still I have to study Purva Mimamsa. These are the four options. He is laying it out clearly. Now, in fact, he will negate everything. So, first he says, Na adhyaha. The first one is not possible. Why? He says, Karma jnana, Brahma jnanayoho, upajivya, upajivaka, bhava, bhava. So, the sambandha. See, upajivya, upajivaka means what? Upajivaka means the one who depends, you can say. Okay. Upajivaka is the one who depends on something. The one on which you depend is called upajivya. So basically, for your own existence, you depend on something. Means you are an upajivaka, and one who supports you, okay, one on whom you depend is the upajivya. But here in this case, there is no upajivya, upajivaka, bhava sambandha. There is no connection like that or relationship like that. There is no relationship like that at all. Okay, it is like parent-child relationship, we can say many times, correct? Even in software, we have these entity relationships and all that. So if you delete one, others also will get deleted. That can be taken as upajivya upajivaka. Like for example, you have an order, then you have order line item. So order is one entity, order line item is one entity, means if you delete the order, line items also will go away, because if the order itself is not there, what is the point in holding on to the line items, correct? So that is called cascading delete and all that, because one totally depends on the other, or there is a parent-child relationship. No, it is not like that here. There is no relationship like that between karma jnanam and brahma jnanam. In fact, where such a relationship is there, also he is giving a beautiful example here. In fact, so he is saying now, nahi ayun ityadi maheshwara sutra jnanam vina anityadi pratyahara jnana abhavavat karma jnanam vina brahma jnana abhavaha iti vaktum shakyate. So the beautiful example he is giving here is this I un, riluk, ye ong, I ouch, like that. The Maheshwara sutras are there, correct? Nyamanga nanam and all that. So I hope most of you know about the Maheshwara sutras. And so those are brilliant. In fact, it's a brilliant arrangement of alphabets, the Sanskrit alphabets, and it helps you to list an entire set of alphabets with only few words, or two particular letters, in fact. Right? By saying an in Paninian terminology, this is the meta language, in fact, I told about, correct? An in Paninian Vyakarana means a, e, u, I, un. Okay, means it all three, a, e, and u can be called an, because the I, a, e, u, in is the ith letter, we say, or the indicatory letter. So an. Okay. Then, so I one is there. Riluk. Correct. Now, if you say ik, e, u, ril, up to, so from e to ik, the ik is e, u, ril. So like this, instead of listing out everything and giving huge tables and all that, Panini simply will say eco energy. There is a sutra, let us say. Okay. I don't know if some of you have studied Panini. You must be knowing this sutra, eco energy. So what is the meaning of this eco energy? So ikaha means, again in Panini's meta language, understand this. The whatever is coming in the fifth case will be the preceding alphabet, you can say. Then whatever comes in the seventh case is following alphabets or following word. So in this case, ikaha is the fifth case of ik. Since it is in fifth case, if a word ends in I, U, Ru, Lu, that is the meaning of that. Just the word ikaha means anything which is ending in I, U, R, L. Then achi means if anything ending in I, U, R, L is followed by ach, means any vowel, all vowels, because I, one, rilak, a, one, I, ouch, up to that ach. So if anything ending in I, U, R, L is followed by any vowel, what will happen? Whatever is there in the first case will be substitute the whatever is there in the fifth case. Means yan, he says. Yan will substitute ik if ik is followed by ach. That is the meaning of the sutra. Okay, iko yan achi. How simply he has said this. Is it not something great? In fact, the Paninian system is a wonder. In fact, I don't know how any one person can even think of such a system. It's amazing, in fact. Anyway, so here, unless you know the Maheshwara Sutras, you have no way of interpreting eco energy, correct? In fact, I had to explain a lot to you. I still don't know whether you understood that. I hope you understood the beauty of the expression of that eco energy is so simple, and it has given you that grammatical rule, Sandhi rule. It is a Sandhi Sutra. In fact, so this is one of the, we call it Yan Sandhi, like that, because the Yan, Yara, Lava will replace the Ik if it is followed by a vowel. And that Sandhi, you see it all the time here, correct? Everywhere you can see it. Many places it will be there. Siddhyarte is also an example of this Yan, because Siddhi is E. It is followed by A. Therefore, the E becomes Ya. That's why it has become Siddhyarte. Is that clear? Even Adhyayanam, because Adhi and Ayanam. The E followed by A, so E has become Ya. Adhyayanam. All these things you can see. Okay. So, what he is saying is, it is not like that unless you know Maheshwara Sutras, you cannot understand the Paninian Sutras. Because the Maheshwara Sutra and the abbreviations derived from that are extensively used here. Unless you know that, nothing will make sense for you here. There is really a Upajivya Upajivaka Bhava. Is that clear? But the same cannot be said with reference to Karma Jnanam and Brahma Jnana. Is that clear? So, Maheshwara Sutra Jnanam Vina Anityadi Pratyahara Jnana Abhavavate Karma Jnanam Vina Brahma Jnana Abhava iti Vaktum Na Shakyate. This Na you have to add here. Okay, Nahi, he starts with Na. Okay. So, you cannot say it is the same way. You don't require any karma. In fact, in modern days, nobody has any karma jnanam. Nobody does any Shrauta karma. Okay. Even Sandhya Vandanadi, Nitya karma itself is a problem. Nobody is doing Samhita Dhanam, Agni Hotradi karma and all you can forget. You can count. There are only few hundred people in entire India who are Nitya Agni Hotris. Aupasana and all, only the Aupasana Pane you collect during your wedding, keep it somewhere. in a loft. Okay, well, upasana you are supposed to do every day. In fact, the woman also can do upasana. According to the Dharma Shastra, if the man of the house is not there and you have to travel somewhere, something like that, women also can do upasanam. They were doing, in fact, but all that is gone now. Okay, nobody is doing any karma, and karma jnanam also is not there. People, in fact, to do Agnihotra is not very easy. That maintaining that Agni without that Agni going off, correct? You have to all the time keep the Agni alive. And if it is somehow somebody puts the fire off, means you have to do prayaschitta. The way you have to again create that Agni and all, there are rules for that. So it's not an easy thing maintaining all this. And 3 Agnis you have to maintain in your home. So all these things are not easy and not possible also nowadays. So anyway, this Brahmajnana uh, is dependent on karma jnanam. Like that we cannot say. In fact, he says explicitly, Jyotishtoma, Poundarika, Vajapayadi, karma jnana vidhuranam api, Brahmajnana sattvat. So what do we see? Those who don't know anything about Jyotishtoma or Poundarika or Vajapaya. So even I have mentioned before also, correct? There are people named Vajapayi nowadays, Somayaji. That is all there only in the name. None of them know anything about Vajapaya Yajnam or Somayaga or anything like that. Somebody in their ancestry, correct? One of their ancestors must have done that Vajapaya Yajna, then they now have it as a family name. That's all. Otherwise, they have no knowledge about anything. They don't know even to do Sandhyavandanam. Then what to talk about Vajapaya Yajna? So, but those who do not know, Vidhuranam api, those who are bereft of this knowledge, okay, those who do not have this knowledge, those who are without this karma jnana, karmas like Jyotishtoma, Paundarika, Vajapaya, etc., they also have Brahma jnanam. Okay, Brahma jnana is there even for those who have no jnanam about all these karma. Therefore, from this we know that Brahma jnanam does not depend on karma jnanam. Okay, the first one is gone. Okay, there is no dependency, direct dependency. Now the second one, nadvitiyaha, the adhikaritva. No, so he says Brahma jnana, karma jnanayoho, adhikarya, adhikaraka, bhava. So between Brahma jnanam and karma jnana, the adhikari karaka means adhikarya means one who gets the qualification, and adhikaraka means one who gives the qualification. So you cannot say karma jnanam only gives you the qualification for gaining brahma jnanam. That also is not true. Why? Again he says karma jnana vidhuranam api bahunam brahma jnane adhikritanam satvat. Okay. So what we see, those who have no jnanam about karma jnana vidhuranam api, this vidhura is different from the Mahabharata vidura. That is dakara. This is dhakara. So karma jnana vidhuranam api bahunam. In fact, most of the people who are brahmajnanis do not have any karma jnana. In fact, they are not interested in karma phala. That's why they even come to Vedanta, correct? Or that's why they have this desire to know Brahman. So because karma and jnana are opposed anyway. So the majority of people are not knowledgeable in karma, Vaidika karma particularly, but they are all qualified for this Brahmajnanam. They are Brahmajnanis also. They have become Brahmajnanis. So like this, we see this. And also, it is not like, see, he is giving another example. What? Upanitasya eva dvijasya vivahe adhikaraha iti vat karmajnaninaha eva brahmajnana adhikaraha iti kwapi adarshanaat Also, the Shastra also does not come and say this. Understand this. Because many times this adhikaritva, etc., is revealed only by the Shastra. Okay, so in the case of Vivaha Samskara, let us say, for a Dvija, one has to be already the one who has had the Upanayana Samskara. So first Upanitasya means one who has had the Upanayana Samskara. So for all the Dvija Varnas, the one who already has had Upanayana only can have Vivaha. That's why even nowadays some people don't do any Upanayana at all. But even those people during the actual Vivaha, one day before, they do the Upanayana. Naam ke vaste, at least they put one this all the thread Janeyu in North India. They make them wear all that, okay, and do some whatever Brahmopadesam, and then only the Vivaha is done, Vivaha Samskara, because the Shastra is there that the Adhikara for Vivaha Samskara you gain only after you are a Upanita, okay. It's not like that in this case because the Shastra also does not say anything like that. That's why he says Kwapi Adarshanat. Means we don't see any mandate saying that you become qualified for Brahma Jnanam only after you gain Karma Jnanam. Like that, nowhere it is said in the Shastra. It is not seen anywhere. Then what? Nat Tritiyaha. Tritiyaha is what that that you have to know the principles of Purva Mimamsa. Then only you can study Uttara Mimamsa. Then he says, if that is the case, what tathatve अन्वय व्यतिरेक अनुमानादि पदार्थानां तर्कशास्त्रे दिष्टानाम् एव वेदान्तशास्त्रे अपि दर्शनेन तज्ज्ञानार्थे तर्कशास्त्रस्यापि अध्येयत्वेन अथशब्दस्य तर्कशास्त्राध्ययनानन्तर्यम् अर्थ इत्यपि वक्तव्यत्वात्. So what he is saying is, if you say like that, we not only do we use the principles of Mimamsa, but we use lot of Tarka Shastra. In fact, Tarka and Vyakarana are called Samana. There is a particular saying which I forgot now, but it is said that to study any other Shastra also, one has to study Vyakarana and Tarka. Because Vyakarana gives you the this Jnanam, Sabda Shadutva. So, Shabda Jnanam is from Vyakarana, Padartha Jnanam is from Tarka, like this. Therefore, in general, you have to study both. Like even nowadays, if you take many of these entrance exam, there is something called verbal and then there is analytical, let us say. So you should have some language skills, which is verbal, and you should have analytical skills. And you should also have some arithmetic skills, quantitative and all these. So verbal, quantitative and analytical, these are the three things normally we test, okay, for any kind of higher education, let us say, whether you have all these basic prerequisites. Like that, in the traditional studies, first they teach only Tarka and Vyakarana. Then only, in fact, other subject matters will be taught. But even in that, Mimamsa is not included. Understand that. So here he says, if you say Mimamsa, Purva Mimamsa is required for Uttara Mimamsa, then you have to say even Tarka is required. Because whatever is taught in Tarka, okay, like how to do Anumana, all these things are used in Vedanta Shastra also very much. Okay, so Vedanta Shastra api darshanena. So whatever is there in the Tarka Shastra, the same principles are used in Vedanta Shastra also. And therefore, to know that, you have to do Adhyayana of Tarka first. And therefore, the atha-sabda-vichaarah should also include Tarka Shastra Adhyayana Anantaryam, not just Purva Mimamsa, but you have to add Tarka also. Okay, but that is not Ishta, he says. Nacha Ishta Pattihi, that is not Ishta for you also, in fact. You are only saying one has to study Purva Mimamsa first, then only you have to study Uttara Mimamsa. You don't want to add Tarka there. Why? Because Vina api tarkadi shastrantara adhyenam bahunam vedanta shastra adhyenat labdha brahma jnananam satvat. Why? Because even without studying any Tarka Shastra, those who have not done any Adhyanam of Tarka Shastra, okay, and Bahunam Vedanta Shastra Adhyanat, only by doing, for many people, only by doing the Vedanta Shastra Adhyanam alone, they have become Labdha Brahma Jnananam. They have become the ones who have already gained Brahma Jnanam. So like this we are seeing, it is there, okay. So that being the case, you cannot say that one has to study all the Shastra and then only you have to come to Brahma Jnana or Brahma Vidya. That's not correct. And in fact, he says, in fact, he is saying something which I have to also confess my Guruji also used to say, or even the Upanishads say, correct? Naisha Tarkena Matirapaneya, like this. It is there in the Kathopanishad. There is a Brahma Sutra also, Tarkasya Apratishtanat, like that. Anyway, so here he says, Prabhala Tara Tarkadi Shastrantara Vasana Pishachi Grasa Vashat Bahuvaram Shruta Vedanta Shastranam Api Alabdha Brahmajnanancha Bahunam Satvat. So now he is giving the opposite example. What he is saying? Those who have studied the Tarka Shastra well, in fact, they are also enamored by whatever Tarka, the Tarka Shastra itself, the logic and all that. It is like a pishacha getting hold of you, it seems. So, pishachi grasa vashat, he says. So, you have been taken over by a ghost. Like that, this Tarka Shastra is like that. You have been taken over by that means what? Afterwards, even if you listen to Vedanta many times, he says, Bahuvaram Shruta Vedanta Shastranam api alabdha Brahma Jnananam, he says. They do not gain Brahma Jnanam. Even if they study Vedanta for a long time, they are so enamored by Tarka that this Shastra does not enter their head. So their whole, their mati is gone. Their mind is, or intellect has been taken over by all this Shushka Tarka. Means there is not proper Shraddha also will not come. This is the problem with modern scientists also. They don't have any Shraddha on the Shastra. Then they don't even understand why Shastra is relevant or is required. Correct? They have no idea about that. So for such people, they are only enamored by whatever this other apara-vidya, we have to say, means this para-vidya will not enter their head at all. Even if you teach them, or many times they listen also, it's not going. In fact, that is why it is the greatest secret. This Vedanta itself is greatest secret, because even if I teach, those who are not ready will never understand. Those who are not interested or those who do not have the prerequisites are not going to get it, really speaking. So anyway, so there are enough people who do not have this jnanam, Brahma jnanam, even though they have listened. That is because their minds are all enamored by other shastras. So that is the other example. Therefore, what are we saying finally? What we are saying is Veda Vedanga Adhyanadhyeva Artha Avabodha Sahitat Apata Pratipanna Brahmajnanasya Vedanta Shastra Adhyanam Sukaram iti Kritva. So what Billangonda is saying? He is saying, so all these other Shastras and all, if you include, means the list is going to be too much, and always we cannot say they are also aiding you. In fact, they are sometimes they are against, in fact. Because the Tarka Shastra is a Dvaita Shastra. Purva Mimamsa also is a Dvaita Shastra. It is saying moksha is only going to Swarga and all that. In fact, it is only going to confuse you, or it is going to actually give you false promises. Those who are attracted by that, that's what Bhagavan says. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadantya vipaschitaha vedavada ratah partha Nanyadasti iti vadinaha kamatmanaha swargaparaha janma karma phalapradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhogaishwarya gatim prati, and all that it goes in the second chapter itself. So they are all enamored by all these swargadi karma phala. Okay. Therefore, in fact, you can become like that by studying that. So it's actually going to not help you in gaining any Brahma Jignasa. You will not be interested in any Brahman. Let Brahman be wherever it is. Okay. I am only interested in this. If somebody is saying like that, you can't do anything. So these Shastras are not really required. What is required, he says, is that you only require the Veda Adhyayana you have to do, he is saying. Okay. So Veda Vedanga Adhyayana Deva Artha Avabodha Sahitat. Also, when you do Veda, in fact, nowadays Veda Adhyayanam also is not proper. Okay, because they only memorize the Veda. Many of the people who have done Samhita, the entire Purna Adhyanam also, they have hardly any understanding. They may not know proper Sanskrit, or they have not studied the Vedangas. See, if you see what is the proper way of Veda Adhyayana. Of course, some Veda Patashalas do that even today. Is that, in fact, that is why we do the Upakarma, correct? So the Veda Adhyayanam, we do Veda Arambha as part of the Upakarma. Means the Shravani Paurnami is there, correct? Paurnamasa. From then onwards, in the Dakshinayanam, you are supposed to do the Veda Adhyayanam. Then the Taishya Paurnamasa is there. Tai Masa, we say, correct? The Makara Masa, the Purnima. From then onwards, in the Uttarayana, you are supposed to study the Veda Angas. In fact, at that time also you are supposed to do one karma, Utsarjana karma and all that. And then 6 months you are supposed to study Vedangas. Again 6 months. During that 6 months you won't learn anything new, but you keep chanting every day whatever you have learned in the first 6 months so that you completely memorize it. So like this, that's why the Veda Adhyayana itself is for 12 years normally, if you do like this. But nowadays they compress it because they are only interested in chanting the mantras and then doing some Vaidika karma and earning money, correct? So they don't do the proper Adhyayana. But Veda Anga Adhyayana means you have to do like this. 6 months Veda Adhyayanam, 6 months Veda Anga Adhyayanam, like that. You have to do the entire. And when you do the Veda Anga and all that, you will study all the Siksha, Kalpam, Vyakaranam, Niruktam, Chandas, Jyotisham. Means some amount of Artha Avabodhana also you will have there. You will understand some meaning definitely. Okay. The meaning of whatever Adhyayanam you are doing. And in that you will gain a general knowledge. That is what is called Apata Pratipanna Brahma Jnanasya. Because when you are doing the Veda Adhyayanam only, you are also going to memorize the Upanishad parts, correct? Brahmavida apnoti param tadesha bhyukta satyam jnanam anantam brahma yo veda nihitam guhayam parame vyoman so oshnute sarvan kamaan saha. Let us say something like this. Means Brahmavid apnoti param saha ashnute sarvan kaman. All these things you are going to do adhyanam. Some general understanding of that also you will have. Correct? So that is good enough, he is saying. So you do the Veda because Swadhyayo Adhyetavyaha, that everybody accepts that Adhyayana Vidhi. So all Dvijas have to do this Adhyayanam. Means when you do Veda Adhyayanam, you have to do it with Veda and Veda Anga properly. When you do that, some Artha Avabodha will be there. And in that you will have general knowledge about Brahman also. This is the premise. And once for such a person, correct, apata pratipanna brahmajnanasya means what? One who has gained a general knowledge of Brahman and Brahmajnanam, one who has, for that person, Vedanta Shastra Adhyanam Sukaram. So the Vedanta Shastra Adhyana will give results for such a person only. Okay. Therefore, what iti kritva Brahma jignasoho Veda Vedanga Adhyayanasya Artha Sahitasya Avashyakatvasya Ubhaya Sampratipannatvat. So, keeping this in mind for the Brahma Jignasu, the one who is desirous of knowing Brahman, for that person what he has to have already done the Veda and Veda Anga Adhyayana, and along with knowing some Artha of that. Okay, whatever Adhyayana you have done, Artha Sahitasya, there is a requirement, Avashyakatvasya. So the requirement of doing the Veda and Vedanga Adhyayana with some understanding of the meaning. This requirement is not only there for Uttara Mimamsa, it is there for Purva Mimamsa also. In fact, the atha-sabda-vichaarah in the atha dharma jijnasa is actually the Veda Adhyayana Anantaram only. Okay? The Anantaryartha there also the atha-sabda is Anantaryartha. It is Veda Adhyayana Anantaryam. Okay, so the Veda Adhyayana Anantaryam, both of us agree, is required. Ubhaya Sampratipannatvat. Okay, but other Shastras are all not required. That is the point here. So, with that, the third is also over. Na Chaturthaha, fourth also we don't accept. But we accept it largely, but not in the way they are saying. So, Karma bihi Shuddha Chittaha eva Brahma Jignyasati. This we accept, okay? The one whose mind is purified by karma, particularly karma yoga, we have to say, not just karma. That person, for that person alone, the desire to know Brahman is there. And this is said by the Upanishads themselves. So he is now quoting the Brihadaranyaka. So tametam vedanu brahmanaha vividishanti ijnena danena tapasa anashakena iti shrutehe न ब्रह्म जिज्ञासुना पूर्व मीमांसाध्ययनम कर्तव्यम. so so here etam means here tam etam is actually referring to this Brahman only. Vedanu Brahmanaha vividishanti. So according to what is said in the Veda, the Brahmanas desire to know, and their desire to know itself comes from where? Means by doing yajna, by doing this karma, by giving dana, by doing tapas, and also by doing other austerities like anashakena, means that is upavasa and all that. Okay. So like this, these are all the things which lead you to chitta shuddhi, in turn which leads you to the desire to know Brahman. This is said in the Upanishad itself. And in this, based on this, we can say that there is no Purva Mimamsa or anything here. Purva Mimamsa Adhyayana is not na kartavyam only, we have to say, is not required, not to be done. In fact, Purva Mimamsa Adhyayanat Purvameva Tasya Brahma Jignasayaha Jatatvat. So, even before you do any Purva Mimamsa Adhyayanam, one can get Brahma Jignasa just by doing Veda Adhyayanam and doing Nitya Karma, Naimitya Karma, etc., avoiding Kamya Karma, and based on the Apadada Jnanam you have, you can gain certain Nitya Vastu Vivekaha, Vairagya, etc. And Mumukshutvam, once you have, then directly you will have Brahma Jignasa. You don't require any Purva Mimamsa Adhyayanam to be done already. This is good enough. Okay. Therefore, what? Nacha Purva Mimamsa Adhyayanam vina na karma vina na karmacharanam vina na chitta shuddhim vina na brahma jignasa iti brahma jignasayaha katham udayaha purva mimamsa adhyayana raitasya iti vachyam. So what the those who follow Ramanuja, they are saying is, they are giving a krama like this. What is that? Without Purva Mimamsa Adhyayanam, you cannot have Karma Jnanam. Without Karma Jnanam, you cannot do Karma Acharanam. Okay, you cannot do Karma. Correct? And without doing karma, you cannot get chitta shuddhi. And without chitta shuddhi, you cannot have the desire to know Brahman. Therefore, how can you say Brahma Jignasa can arise without the adhyanam of Purva Mimamsa? Like this, you should not say. He is saying why? Because Purva Mimamsa adhyayana is not required. Only the Veda adhyayana is good enough. And at least, particularly if you do the Veda adhyayanam with artha sahitam, with the knowing the artha of whatever you are doing adhyayanam, and that is good enough. From that, whatever apata pratipanna, he is saying, right? Apata jnanam you get, the general knowledge. Based on that only, and of course, you are doing yajnana, danena, tapasa, and all these things. You are leading a life of discipline, and based on that only you can get the desire to know Brahman. You don't have to do any Purva Mimamsa Adhyanam for this. And further, why? Because Adhita Swadhyayena Mimamsa Shastra Vasana Shunyena api Paropadishta Vidhaya Krita Nishkama Karmana Chitta Shuddhehe Labhyamanatvat. What he is saying is, one who has done Adhyayana, Adhita Swadhyayana means what? One who has done the Adhyaya of one's own Veda. Okay? And for whom Mimamsa Shastra Vasana Shunyena, and doesn't have any idea about any Mimamsa Shastra, but they can also still do all the karma, correct? Paropadishta Vidhaya. Because most of us do karma based on how it is taught to us by our shishtas. We don't have to do study any Purva Mimamsa or anything. By the once Upanayana is done, we are taught how to do Sandhya Vandanam, Samidhadhanam, etc. And even after, during the Adhyayana also, you learn. You go and participate in different Vaidika karma, and you learn from that. You don't have to study any Mimamsa Shastra. You learn by osmosis also, by how others are doing, etc. And they'll also instruct you, correct? When you go and participate in any Vaidika karma, by that, in fact, you learn how to do the karma. So once you have learnt all this Nitya Naimitika karma, that is good enough. You can do that with the purpose of gaining Chitta Shuddhi, means you are doing Nishkama karma. So one who is doing this Nishkama karma, for him the Chitta Shuddhi will be gained, and therefore that is good enough. Then he can have Brahma Jignasa. He does not have to do any Purva Mimamsa Adhyayana for that. In fact, 99% of Vaidikas themselves do not know anything about Purva Mimamsa, correct, even today. So, what is said here, Nahi Anadhita Vedasya Iva Anadhita Mimamsa Shastrasya Jyotishtomadau Nasti Adhikaraha iti Vaktum Shakyate. So, what he is saying is, it is good that, in fact, even in practice, that you have to do Veda Adhyanam. That is there for everybody, because there is a Adhyayana Vidhi, and only who has done the Adhyanam becomes then qualified to do the Jyotishtomadi karma. Nobody says that you have to do Purva Mimamsa also. Then only you have the Adhikara to do the Vaidika karma. Like that, nobody in fact says. In fact, how did people do this before Jaimini even wrote the Purva Mimamsa Sutra? They were already doing Vaidika karma. Correct? So, there is no rule that only by studying the Purva Mimamsa Shastra you become an Adhikrita or the qualified to do karma. All you have to do is what? You do Adhyanam of your Veda, and you pick up how to do this karma from your Acharyas, and then you start doing. That's all is required. So, there is no requirement even to do karma, that there is no requirement that you have to study the Purva Mimamsa Shastra and become qualified. There is no rule like that. Therefore, it is not required. Okay. Also, finally he says, Bhavatu va Purvamimamsa Shastra Adhyayana Shunyasya Karmasu Anadhikara. Even let us say he says, no, unless you study the Purvamimamsa Shastra, you cannot have Adhikara with reference to karma. Karmasu Anadhikara only will be there. You will be unqualified to do karma. if you don't study Purva Mimamsa Shastra, even if they say that, what? We don't care. Why? Na tavata asmakam kapi kshatihi. So for us, it doesn't matter. Why? Because we are not interested in karma and karma phala anyway. How does it matter what is the adhikara for karma or not? You have to have sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, that's all. Okay, so therefore, even if you say like that, we have no problem. Na tavata asmakam kapi kshatihi yena kainapi adrishtadina hetuna jatayam brahma jignasayam purushena vedanta shastra adhyayanam eva kartavyam. So, in whichever way you get the sadhana chatushtaya, we don't know. You may get it even because of some purva janma sukrita, correct? There are so many people like that. It is only like they are just born and they have a certain viveka. It's amazing, correct? There are so many child prodigies in different fields. And in this also, there are people like that. So, yena kena api adrishtadina means adrishta here is obviously purva sukrita only, purva janma karma. So, due to that, one gains Brahmajig, one has this desire to know Brahman, and by such a person, this Vedanta Shastra Adhyanam only has to be done, not Mimamsa Adhyanam. So, natu Mimamsa Adhyanam, tasya darshita vidhaya jignasam pratyeva hetutvat. So, because this, whatever is shown to you, correct? And whatever you are interested also, based on that only you will study the Shastra. If you are interested in Brahman, why should you go and study Purva Mimamsa? It makes no sense, correct? In fact, I may have told you already. So I had a certain interest in studying Jyotisha, but my Guruji said, "Don't do that. Once you have come to Vedanta, don't get into all this other Shastra. Means you will only be distracted." In fact, he also did not want us to do that Tenali exams and all that. Okay, there is a Shastra Poshaka Sabha in Tenali, AP. They conducted 15 levels of exams, but they start with Nyaya, Tarka Sangraha and all that, and they go in different levels. But Swamiji said, don't go there also, because we are not studying Vedanta for scholarship or anything. It is for, because you are a mumukshu, you are studying it. It is for your self-transformation alone. So one has to be focused on that. If you get distracted from there, then it becomes a problem. So that's why one need not study any other Shastra. Only studying Vedanta is good enough. Okay. In fact, he gives an example also for that. This example is there in Gita also. So, nahi neere labdhe sati neera labhaya kupaha khananiyaha. So he says, already you have a lot of water. Okay. Then for drinking water, you will not go and start digging a well, correct? You already have a lot of water. So, like that, we are already, we are not interested in any karma phala. Then what is the point in going and doing this analysis about how to do karma to gain karma phala? I am not interested in that. Okay, I have already transcended that. So, that is what this analogy comes in the Gita also, correct? Yavan artha udapane sarvata samplutodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanataha, like that Bhagavan says in the second chapter. So you already have a lot of water, then why are you going to dig a well or what if you want water? Therefore what? Tasmat karma jignasuna eva mimamsa shastram adhyetavyam brahma jignasuna tu vedanta shastram adhyetavyam. Okay, so therefore what? Only one who is interested in karma and karma phala should study the Mimamsa Shastra. For those who are interested in knowing Brahman, one who have grown out of the desire for karma phala, for them only Vedanta Shastra Adhyanam alone has to be done. Like even what? Shabda sadhutva jignasuna shabdhanushasanam So one who is interested in knowing well-formed words and all that, how to form words correctly, that person has to do Shabdanushasana, means here Vyakarana Shastra. Or those who want to know about different categories of things and all that, Padartha Jijñasuna, Tarka Shastram Tadvatiti, or the one who is interested to know the Padartha, they have to study Tarka Shastra. Like that, the one who is interested to know Brahman should only study the Vedanta Shastra. Okay, further we'll see tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.